Yansung began to talk about his training and the trials he faced after being caught in a magical storm. Vargo said that it made even less sense. A magical storm is a phenomenon that cannot be controlled. Not even the constellations can handle it. Yansung thought that at least one constellation should control him, but Vargo replied that if it were real, such a constellation would immediately conquer the entire abyss. Vargo asked again if he was sure that he got into the storm by accident. The demon said it wasn't too late to change things, but he just asked for silence. Yansung didn't think Vargo was lying. Now he learned a lot. He was enjoying the process of getting stronger so much that he didn't have a single question until this moment. He didn't understand how he could be so naive. And why hadn't he thought of it before? He wanted to cry, but he could not, because every tear leads to a decrease in his masculinity. The demon saw that Yansung was in a great hurry and asked where he was going. He replied that the plans had changed and now he understood that he was not at the training facility, and he needed to return to the ground urgently. Vargo was sorry, but he would not be able to leave the Bloodlord's territory. He was also sorry that he had to destroy a gem like him, but he asked not to worry because his master would bind his soul and resurrect him. He did not like the demon's mood and refused to play his games. Vargo noticed that he had a special technique, and he did not feel any magic, but his movements were faster than teleportation magic. It was a divine cosmic art movement technique that utilized key energy. Now the demon understood why the master was interested in him, but he was not going to continue these games. Vargo used the bloody baptism technique. He was very strong because he could use so much mana. Yansung wouldn't be able to last long, even with his invulnerability. This technique, in all its glory, shows the difference between the power of Varigoth and the power of a human sorcerer. Thanks to the skill of harmony of body and mind, Yansung's senses were heightened. The divine cosmic art warned him. This was because Yansung was in great danger. But in a crisis situation, Yansung's mind was very calm, and the discomfort from the fact that he wasted his time due to a misunderstanding had already disappeared. It was like the moment he was caught in a magical storm. It is not speed that is important, but a sense of flow in order to dodge. Due to this control, his degree of mastery of martial arts is increased. He acquired the S-rank skill Unsurpassed Speed, a movement technique that allows you to move to a desired location. Vargo was shocked that he had managed to avoid a bloody baptism completely. Until this moment, he thought that only weaklings studied martial arts, but now he expressed his respect for him. In the Abyss, magical skills are the most popular. They use up mana, and those who use magic can take an unlimited amount of mana from outside. On the other hand, martial arts drain the user's internal energy. Compared to magic, martial arts have a limit. After meeting with him, Vargo understood what martial arts were created for. It was really impressive. Once, he heard that the slaves had staged a rebellion in the territory of a certain constellation. They wanted to resist the laws of this world. If they went against the constellation, they could no longer use mana. However, it was difficult enough to stop the rebellion, and it was all because of their strange ability, which could be used without borrowing mana from the outside. He guessed that they used martial arts, but what if he used magic? Vargo said that after his body had melted from the bloody baptism, he would have already met the Lord of Blood. But Yansung knew that it would not work with him yet, and that he could not be defeated so easily. Vargo admitted that he really was an unusual person, but he is Vargo. His master gave him a bloody axe. The demon jumped on him and hoped to tear him to pieces. Their confrontation was very tense. Yansung was forced not only to attack, but also to constantly dodge blows. Vargo, even with its size, managed to sneak up behind and attack. He had only to defend himself from the last attacks, and that was it. He believed that magic was dishonest and planned to find vulnerabilities in close combat. He did not believe that magic was capable of everything, and for the first time in a long time, Yansung was on the verge of defeat, but his mind remained sane. He was faced with an enemy who was significantly superior in strength and abilities. He had nothing to offer in return. With each attack, he felt himself getting stronger and stronger. Yansung decided to gather all his energy at one point to create a key fist. Vargo appreciated his tricks, but questioned how much he could do with what he had left. The use of all his skills was only suitable for defending against attacks. The problem was the attacking power needed to break through the dozens of layers of defense with which Vargo protected himself. The key fist is the result of compression, but such compression was not enough for an effective attack. In theory, the Kai fist did not fully utilize key compression. It is possible to compress to the state of materialization, and this technique is called Kai materialization. Shikiri, the great martial artist on Earth, was the first to materialize the ki, but he could only hold it for a moment. Yansung continued to suffer from the demon's attacks. He had enough energy and strength only to defend himself. The fact is that Yansung surpassed Shikiri's strength 100 years ago, and he began to prepare for this blow. Vargo did not expect such a development at all, and even began to worry about his life. He gathered enough energy and struck the demon. Blood began to flow from his mouth. His face immediately changed, but he understood that if he used this ability too often, his ki would simply run out. The rest of the demons were watching this spectacular fight, and they understood that at this rate, they would wipe out the place. Their battle continued for about 6 months. This man had already become a legend. His Kai was being depleted very quickly due to the use of the Aura Fist. Yansung was at a dead end. Although he could break through Vargo's defense with a materialized attack, he couldn't use this attack very often due to the large consumption of ki energy. Some of his skills quickly restored his energy, but he still needed time to use the cosmic aura again. For Vargo, this was extra time to rebuild his defenses. He said that they had already wasted a lot of time, and he could no longer restrain the Bloodlord, so he decided to use it. The Bloodlord blessed him with the power to defeat this man. On the surface, it seemed that his body was shrinking, but in reality, it was only getting stronger. He was filled with the energy and magic of the abyss. His possibilities became almost limitless. He looked different now. The demon was very grateful for his master's support. Yansung watched the process and understood that he was in great danger. He knew why Vargo had shrunk in size, but the smaller he became, the stronger he was. As soon as the demon finished its transformation, it started attacking him from different sides. The ability he used made him smaller in size, not to weaken him, but to make him very fast and sharp. If before that Yansung was significantly faster than him, now Vargo looked much more agile. This situation literally destroyed all of the guy's advantages in this fight. Now he was just defending himself, and it was not known how long he would be able to hold on and take a lot of blows. As a result, as expected, his invulnerability was pierced by another attack. He needed time to recover. He understood that if he lost his concentration, he would die. He could not relax. The demon, in turn, did not think at all about reducing the number of his attacks. Ever since Yansung entered the abyss, he had never used all of his dantian and ki. In an abyss where there were so many different and dangerous monsters around, using all the energy was equated to death. Vargo was not at all interested in his problems and knew that Yansung now did not have enough energy to repel his attacks. Yansung understood that he was now in a critical situation and had to use all of Ki's energy. It was a difficult choice, but he had no other option. If he didn't do it, he would simply die. He could not save his strength to see through the next day and leave a reserve so that he would not fight at full strength. The demon was already preparing for the next attack, and Yansung decided to seize his opportunity at that moment. Just before Vargo attacked, Yansung countered with his energy. He managed to repel the attack and strike back. He received a new technique, Space Breakthrough. The divine space art improved. The demon was surprised because the blow caused him significant damage, pushing him several tens of meters away from him. Vargo felt that he needed to defeat this boy at all costs to save his reputation. If he didn't end it, then Yansung would only get stronger with each successful attack. His energy was restored, and he gained new abilities, which could lead to a point where the demon would not be able to harm him at all. If Vargo allowed this, it would be a disgrace, as he would lose to a human in his territory, which is ruled by a bloodlord. He could not stand by and watch a new constellation being born in the territory of his great master. After some time, Yansung could defend himself more effectively and with fewer resources. Vargo saw a light in front of him. something very strange began to happen, and the demon seemed to be in another dimension. Now Yansung realized that when he released the key, the wall he faced and the amount of ki that was in his dantian were unimportant because the dantian is the world that lives inside his body. If he could bring it out of his body, then the whole world would become his. He had reached absolute understanding of the materialization skill. Now he could use the materialized ki energy with ease. His skills began to improve one by one. He gained powers that were unmatched by anyone in the ordinary world or the abyss. The abyssal constellations, who had been watching the fight, took an interest in Yansung as he was finishing off Varago to become the victor in their battle. Different constellations showed different interests. He did not know that they were watching him. The Bloodlord was very angry. Yansung did not stop beating him until Varago begged for mercy and surrendered. His body lay motionless on the ground and could no longer resist such a force. He had never defeated an opponent who was stronger than him, so he was looking forward to rewards and new abilities. He defeated the first avatar of the Bloodlord, Varago, who was given a bloody axe. He gained the power of the whole world thanks to the skill of a master of his craft. Defeated, Varago said that Yansung had now earned the right to reject his master's offer. After their fierce battle, he thanked the demon with all his heart. Varago also added that although he did not know which constellation offered him to become an avatar, he could not accept it under any circumstances. He wished him to become so strong that no constellation could look at him with disrespect and, most importantly, he wished that Yansung would become famous in the abyss and become a star. He pondered and tried to understand his words correctly. He began to think about what mission the constellations perform and for what purpose they receive avatars. Then he thought about the lady who offered him to become an avatar and realized that there was some truth in Varago's words. She was trying to treat him dishonestly. He said that he understood everything and would definitely listen to his advice. Varago was grateful for such a fight. He said his name was Yansung. The demon said that he would wait for the day when they would meet again on the battlefield. After these words, he turned to ashes. Yansung said that he should definitely come back because he has to pay back the debt. When Varago disappeared, Yansung began to think about his words again. Perhaps his mission is to become a constellation and save the world. After he became a master, he felt at a level where he began to perceive the world around him as himself. He felt something he had not felt before the gazes of the constellations that watched his every step and deed. They assessed him and discussed among themselves. He wondered if their power could be compared to anything at all, but he was confident that he would be able to match them if he became a little stronger. Nothing was impossible for him. He began to receive messages in which some stars asked to meet Yansung. The constellations of the abyss could not move. They were constantly aiming at each other's territory, and if one of them accidentally left his place, the others would immediately seize it. That is why the constellations watched the world without leaving their thrones, and they did it through their avatars. While Yansung was in thought, he received a message that the Lord of Blood had set a reward for his head. Then, every creature in the area began to hunt Yansung to be recognized as the master. Now, Yansung imagined these constellations as people who communicate by looking at a stream. They were talentless. He declared that he would become a constellation when they watched him, so he had nothing to fear in the real world. When Yansung was at school, one of the teachers was watching a program on TV. There, they showed him about whom he told Yansung that he had signed a contract with the stars. Everyone envied him because they also wanted such a contract, but in reality, everything was not as fabulous as it was told on TV. These were the words of this guy, but no one saw anything wrong with it, only advantages. But in reality, he said that the rules of the constellations bound him, and he was under surveillance 24/7. Then Yansung just watched him while the teachers were jealous of him and didn't even want to understand why he said that. Now Yansung understood what the hunter was talking about. Obligations to act in accordance with their rules and to obey the orders of his constellation, and if he refused, he would face a terrible punishment. Being an avatar that everyone envies means being a slave in golden chains. Yansung was happy to destroy everyone who wanted to get a reward for his head from the Lord of Blood. He wanted to be strong from childhood, not so that such strong boys would pay attention to him and try to subjugate him. He wanted to have his own path in which only he himself would be the master and mentor for himself. Vargo was right because he could not leave his fate to the constellation after he had come this far. Various constellations continued to tempt him and lure him into their chains. It was very beneficial for them to have such an avatar, but Yansung refused everyone and did not take any gifts from them. Yansung understood that it would be nice to have magic, but he didn't know how to use it. That's why he decided to achieve everything thanks to martial arts, which is what he practiced and improved for 1,000 years. One of the stars called him a hipster. He did not like this at all and considered it an insult. But then the very constellation sent him a large ingot of adamantium as a gift. Although Yansung was fascinated by power, he was still a scoundrel from a capitalist society, so he quickly took such a gift for himself. This constellation then began to offer more valuable minerals if he agreed to sign the contract. But he replied that he himself planned to become a star, so there was no point in trying to lure him with gifts.